a general question. Like, not you grew up in Pennsylvania and Delaware, not to shit on those two states, but like, look how far you've come. Like, did you dream about this when you were a kid, or is this like more than any of your wildest expectations?
Dream about what?
Being this big, like being this successful, like achieving it all.
No, I had no idea that I mean, I just wanted to like, you know, I fantasized about like having long hair and like running around and, you know, like used to put like towels on my head and like pretend I was She-Ra.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yes. And you know, I mentioned you're many things. You're a singer. You're GLAAD Media nominated for Letters to My Lovers, right? And you also went on tour last year with another drag star favorite, Jujubee, which is, I just wanted, like, is it more personal for you to like perform your music than it has been? Because you performed a million times, like than performing a lip sync or when you do drag.
Oh yeah, I mean, I love doing drag, and I love drag performance. Definitely saved my life.
Right.
And you know, drag, it allows you to kind of touch an audience, sometimes actually touch an audience member.
And that's important.
Yeah,
people
you know,
reaching out,
touching each other. And so drag definitely saved my life, but when I was able to perform my own original content, songs that I'd written myself about relationships and the world and things that the community are going through, you know, that of course it's very personal and cathartic, and also being able to meet people who resonate with my story feels great.
Yeah, I mean, and also like, cause you've done music, and then in 2018 you were on Broadway, and you went head over heels. You were the first openly trans woman to play a major role in a Broadway musical. On a macro level, what does it feel like, the responsibility of making history, but then also on a micro level, to be a performer and get on Broadway, auditioning on Broadway? Like, how did that feel?
I mean, it felt like finally I was able to do it, because that's why I moved to New York. I moved to New York to go to acting school. I went to AMDA, and the professors were like, "Bitch, you're never gonna work on Broadway." And I was like, "Oh my god, bitch, fuck you."
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, "Fine, I'll go to the drag club."
Yeah.
And so I just went to the drag club for 20 years. Yeah.
Oh, I hope we got on that stage. I hope that.
Oh, I was letting them have it on that
yes!
stage. I was like, "You know my professor said to me, hit that Whitney Houston song."
Right.
And so I was doing drag for many, many years and really enjoying it. And drag allowed me to travel the world. And obviously I was working in New York, but I saw a lot of great things. And I had the opportunity to audition for Head Over Heels in 2017 when I was on tour, and had just finished RuPaul's Drag Race.
Yeah.
And obviously I got it, and it felt like, you know, it felt very full circle. And not only was I on Broadway, but I was also able to, the role was very draggy.
Right.
And so it just felt like the perfect sort of entrance for me into a Broadway experience. And there was some pressure. I felt like, you know, it being an historic moment, and the show was extremely queer.
Yep.
I felt like, oh my gosh, you know, I want to make sure that the trans community is like supportive of this, and that we don't do anything wrong, and that the Broadway community is going to enjoy it. And I think we did most of those things.
No, I mean, you definitely did. I mean, also I just gotta say, the 8 shows a week thing. I do a show once a month and I'm exhausted after. It takes me a week to recover. Like, did you think you're hustling, obviously, in drag, what you've did that thing prepare you to be able to handle that?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, good.
Yeah, doing drag, because before I'd done RuPaul's Drag Race, I was working pretty much 7 nights a week in the clubs. So I was working every single day of the week, and sometimes I did do more than one show.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I was kind of used to just always hustling and sort of being on all the time. But I mean, I thought that 8 shows a week was going to be was a gagger.
Yeah.
But the holiday schedule for Broadway is like murder. I think we did like 15 shows in 9 days.
All for baby Jesus. I mean,
I couldn't even get the math right on that.
Jesus.
I was like, we have to do what? I didn't know that until like November, and it was too late to
drop.
Yeah.
That would have been gone. You did a really cool interview with the Takeaway podcast, and I think I want to talk about it because it's really interesting. Like, on one hand, the rebooting of these stories and casting queer people, people of color, it's awesome. But it's not the same of telling queer stories, right? Can you explain what that difference is and why we're still not fully there reaching representation?
You're talking specifically about, like, you know, inclusive casting with old stories?
Yep.
We see that a lot in a lot of remakes and revivals, especially in professional theater, where they're like, let's just get like black people to do it. And it's like, Little House on the Prairie. It's like, yeah. And so it is, it's twofold. I think when we're looking at entertainment, the industry of entertainment, it's not only about the stories that people are seeing and hearing, but it's also about the actual business of entertainment and who are you hiring, what opportunities are being provided. And when you think about marginalized communities and telling the stories of people in marginalized communities, it really is kind of disingenuous for you to say, we want to tell this story of this like person who's unhoused or this disabled person, and not really have reverence for the lived experiences of those people. I remember in whatever it was, when after Jared Leto had won for a brilliant performance in Dallas Buyers Club, and I saw some interview where they were like, what's it like to be a trans woman? And they were asking Jared Leto. And, but he won the Oscar for it. So like, at the time, this was more than 10 years ago, I guess it made sense. Like, there weren't any trans people that were gonna ask him. And so he was like, he made some really crude joke about like, there's not enough room in your pantyhose for your balls. And I was like, I wish that was the only thing that trans people had to worry about. And so I realized that, yes, it's important to tell these stories, but if you're not telling them authentically, including the people who actually live them, then you're kind of doing a disservice, because then people think, then it only goes as far as the movie and the award, and then they think, oh, see, trans people just only care about pantyhose. And we're not talking about the extreme high rate of violence and murder and discrimination that is just kind of woven into pretty much every other experience that people can have. Whether it's the medical system, housing, employment, you name it. I can give you 15 stories about how there's sort of a systemic anti-transness worked into the system.
Yeah, and the entertainment industry as a whole is not, the gatekeepers aren't particularly brave. The creatives are. The people, they writing the stories. But it took Ryan Murphy to partner to make Pose, to be people like, oh, black LGBTQ people are creative and fun? Wow, let's make more of this. Like, it takes so much. You're obviously in it. Are you seeing progress? Because are you seeing LGBTQ people get power and then open up the doors for others?
No.
Damn it!
Yes, first of all, like, we have to, like, the truth is, like, queer people have obviously, I think the queer community is probably that I can think of, the most intersectional community on the planet. Like, we're in every family, we're in every, every nationality, every race, every religion, every political party, like every job, every country, obviously, like we are everywhere because we're born queer.
Yeah.
And so, the gay white men have been installed since men have been running things. Yeah. And unfortunately, I don't even need to finish the fucking sentence.
Unfortunately.
Just unfortunately.
That's enough.
Not that I'm not dragging gay white men, although I am. But, so when we talk about gatekeepers, it's often situations like that. Not to jump too far ahead, but I think a lot about, especially during the pandemic, we were able to sort of go back and do a lot of research and watch a lot of videos. Yeah. And so I was able to watch a lot of sort of newer stories or newer retellings of queer existences that we weren't really aware of historically, and especially in entertainment. There were so many trans people who were actually there but couldn't come out, were closeted for obvious reasons. And there was several stories of really successful models, women models who made it mainstream, who were then outed and then ousted from the industry for being trans, and it was usually a gay guy that outed them.
Yeah. Damn it. God, well, I'm a gay guy, and
Let's get him, girl!
I deserve it. I really deserve it.